I'm working on this bumper. Since I have this torn apart, I'm just gonna dig into this. Let's see, I'm trying to kind of figure out the best way to do this. I think I'm gonna take the Sawzall, trim this level with the bottom of the frame, and then I'll place this up in the frame somewhere if it's necessary. I don't know. I have to figure out the height and stuff. Here's a receiver extension I have, and I'm actually gonna cut this, fit this flush into the back. So I'm gonna start on that, start cutting. Holy shit, that's heavy. All right, so you may have noticed by now. Is that? Jesus. So you may have noticed when doing this kind of stuff, this leads to that. What I'm doing here is I'm going to pull this piece of trim off right here. This is at the back of the box. There's some stuff that's going to happen with this side. It's all going to tie in back here with this corner and the bumper and all that. So just stay tuned for a little bit. You'll see what's happening. It's the next day. I did mostly a lot of staring and thinking, staring at the van and thinking yesterday. What I'm going to do now is here's that rear bumper. I'm going to cut this plate out, see how it fits in this area here, kind of play with that a little bit. Alrighty, so I got this, this is that piece of 6-inch channel, and I managed to cut that out, all that mess. It took quite a few cuts to kind of get it free. I had to cut it there, and then 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 you go another cut, and then grind. Anyways, they had this thing welded really, really well. That's going to be kind of a panel, and then the hitch is going to mount through there. And I plan on putting some other tubing out here and then put a bumper just behind it. I still have to chop these guys off right here to make that level. I want this to be the low point in the back right here. So that raises my low point. It was down here, and that raises that up, which gives me a lot more clearance. So if you look, this is the back of the van. And if you say you go through a dip, like a wash on a Jeep road or something, and then the van goes down in the front through the wash, and then the van goes up as you're going out of the wash. Well, the back of the van acts like a lever. It goes down, and then you bottom out and get stuck. So the idea is originally the bumper, let's see if I can do this. So originally the bumper hung down approximately, it was actually lower than that, but lower than that. So that's my angle. That's the steepness of a ditch I can come out of. So here's the idea. I plan on cutting this wedge out of the box back here. If you look at where the conduit is now, up to this imaginary line, that changes my breakaway angle or my departure angle to a higher point. Now the low point of the van is still going to be the frame rails, which are more towards the center of the van, and they are lower than this corner. I'm not concerned about that though, because the idea is when you go through a wash, what you tend to do is you go in and you go diagonal and you put one wheel at a time, and then when that front wheel comes up, that back goes in, and then that gives it that clearance in that corner in the back. That's the idea. All this stuff definitely takes, it looks short in the video, but this takes a long time. I've been working on the back of this van now for since Sunday. And now it's Friday. I've been out here pretty much every day. Sun's going down. I like to kind of not make noise after sunset, you know, be mindful of the neighbors. I'm gonna maybe do a little more grinding, a couple more things, and then wrap it up for tonight. New day, same project. I got the ends ground clean for welding. But before I weld that in, I need to figure out the hitch. So the hitch is gonna go, it's just gonna stick out far enough to access this hole past the channel. Cutting this bracket off for the chains here, because I'm not gonna need that. And then what I'll do is I'll end up putting a couple D-rings on here, and I can use those as an attachment point to pull the van and or to hook chains for trailer, multiple uses. And then figure out my length, cut it to length, and keep moving. That's a bummer. I just dropped the grinder and broke my disc. Dang it, that was a new disc too. All right, I cut that junk off. I'll have to grind this down and Looks like I got into that piece a little bit. I'll just put a weld on there. It'll be fine. All right, so I figured out my length. I need the receiver to go between the plate and the other cross member. So I cut this a little on the long side so I can grind it to fit. That's interesting. It has another piece of square tubing inside it to reinforce it. That's why it's hard to cut. I'm gonna cut this. Ooh, left-handed. This should be fun. Okay, that's as far as I can get with the saw. Maybe I'll have to use the grinder to get the rest or something. I'm not sure. Sawzall. Yeah, maybe I'll use the Sawzall. Okay, I used my brain and I decided that might be better. Jigsaw. Okay, one more tool. Ta-da! I left this a little long because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this metal corner yet. I'll figure that out as I go. Welcome back. It's a different day, different week. I got some metal in my eye I got a piece of metal in my eye grinding last week. Not good. I was wearing glasses. I squint, but something got in there. I've been doing this a long time and I've never had a problem. I got some new safety glasses because I had to go to the eye doctor and get that cut out, and then he had to use a small die grinder to remove the rust. Very, very unpleasant. Wear safety glasses. Okay, we're back on the van again. I'm still working on this bumper hitch thing, so let's get into that. So this is the back corner of the van before I cut it. After. See, that goes up. All right, so here's something you guys didn't know about. Spoiler, there's a winch for the van. That's where I'm putting a receiver on the back. I'm just mocking up the depth that I'm gonna weld this receiver tube in. It's obviously gonna mount lower. I want the pin to fall between the channel and the back of the bumper, so it's kind of tucked up clean. And then this end of the receiver should just stick out past the bumper is the idea. And then the winch is in a tray that can be removed out of the receiver, stored in the back of the van. There'll be a mount in the van to store the winch in. And then I'm also putting a receiver in the front of the van, and then I can pull myself out forward if necessary, or backwards. That's what I've been doing back here, figuring out the bumper. That's kind of a rough draft of the shape of the bumper, and then cutting the sides for clearance, etc., etc. Morning, guys. New day. Found an ad on Marketplace yesterday, a couple days ago, for camper windows for free. So I went this morning and talked to the guy and then removed them. I have some windows for the van. I got a couple, 3 there, and I already got one removed out of the truck and just stash it over there. So keep an eye out for free stuff, and you can save money on building your van. These will work perfect for what I need. I might need one more. I don't know. I might use all of them. I might not. We'll see. They're free. If anything else, I can always give them away to someone else if I don't use them. So no harm, no foul. Anyways, I'm going to unload these and start doing some other stuff. I took the piece of square tube I'm going to use as the bumper. I took that down to a local welding shop. Super cool guy, and he plasma cut out the square for me so I can slide this receiver through. So I'm going to weld this into the bumper, and then the pin will be right back here like I was showing you earlier. And then that'll tie in to this cross member right there. I'm going to weld it, and then I'll grind this down a little bit. It's sticking out further than I need, but I'll grind that, and I'll still have room to get my pin in, and etc. Hi guys, I'm back. Same video, different day. It's been a few days. I've worked and was hanging out with my sister doing some stuff. Back on the van today. Just got back from the welding shop. That guy Lou down there, super cool guy. He cut these plates for me, drilled holes. These are going to be the mounting points for my bumper on the van, and a pulling point to hook a winch line or a rope or whatnot to. So I'll take those down to the van and start addressing this and figuring all this out. Gives you an idea of how the bumper's going to kind of work. Here's the tow hooks that are going to come out, and then this hitch will be notched, and it'll go through there, and like I showed before, attached to that cross member there. I need to kind of trim this up and get it fitting better, get these fit, make a measurement for my notch, and then cut the bumper to length. I left it long intentionally so I could cut it, and it'll fit between those guys there, my tow hooks. Well, it's been a couple weeks since I filmed. I took a trip over the weekend for Halloween basically, and that's the weekend I found out my Suburban out in California burned up. Pretty bummed out. Extended my trip and just kind of camped out and drove around. I took a week off of working on the van. Just needed some time to clear my head and think about what I'm going to do moving forward. That's here nor there, so I'm back on this. I got these toe hook points ground. I ground a little chamfer here so I have a little better surface to weld to in the frame. I drilled a couple holes in the frame, and so I can rosette weld the plate from the back side. And as you saw in the last clip, which was a couple weeks ago, those will stick out right there. So I'm gonna try to hot glue this on now, see how it goes. It looks like right about there-ish. Try and get these what looks level to the frame. Think about like that. Let's see, get a couple spot welds on it. That looks pretty good. I think it's downhill a little bit. What do you guys think? Yeah, it's off a tiny bit. Should I just pick it up here or should I redo it? Because I could just do that and run it. I think I'll redo it. Okay, I'll be back. Fail. I went to weld this piece in. I didn't like how it sat, so I broke the tack and measured it all out and got it all shimmed and set it all back up and clamped it in place and set the camera up and got it all prepped and got these great shots over here where it's going to do these rosette welds. Well, the camera was on slow motion. So anyways, I got that tacked. I'm going to come in, weld the back here, probably come across the top, the bottom. I might try and weld to the bottom here. I also might try and find a shim to stick in here and then weld from the plate to the shim to the bottom of the frame. That's a possibility. Come over here and do this side, you know, measure it all out and try and match it the best I can. Got this side welded in. This is the next day, by the way. I was having some real problems with this and I was getting real poor, shitty welds. You can kind of see here. I think there might have been some, this frame's undercoated and I not wire wheel, but used a grinder and ground it, but I don't think I had it clean enough and it was a little windy, and I think these MIG welders are sensitive to wind for the gas, and if the metal's not clean, it's not like an old stick welder where you can just burn this shit in. So my dad came out this morning and he did some welding and he got it kind of better, and we messed with the settings and got the welder set up better. Got that side in solid. It's not the prettiest, as you can see, but that's gonna function fine. I started doing this one. I'm already having better luck. It's not perfect. There's a little porosity here. You can see in a couple spots. I should be able to kind of grind that out and fix it and make it good. It's gonna be plenty solid for what I'm doing. I mean, these are 3/4. Ooh, that's still hot. Duh. Fucking jackass. So these are 3/4. They're going to be plenty strong. It's just getting that welder to bite into them good and then connect to the frame. I want a good welds. I'm going to finish buzzing this in. So this is the center of the bumper piece here with the built-in receiver. And all this I left long on purpose. So I just laid this across the top here a second ago. Found my center for the hitch. And then I marked these guys. If you can see that there. Little scribe. That's going to be my width in between the tow hooks. So I'm going to chop this off on both sides. I'll be cutting them with the bandsaw, and sometimes you can get a little curve in the cut. So I'll leave them a little long, and then I'll square them up with a grinder, make sure they're good, and then I'll burn that thing in. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to have to figure out my length of my receiver. Oh, and I have to burn this plate in before I do any of that. But I have to cut this to length, figure out that length, burn that in, notch that, maybe not in that order, and then burn this in. It'll make sense when you see it. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. It's kind of dangerous. Such a goof. I got it roughed in a little bit. It's got late. I was helping my dad with his bus. We put his solar panels on today. It won't sit quite where it's at. It'll be tucked in more. You can see my holes for my D-rings are kind of covered a little bit, but this will be tucked in. I just rough cut that receiver back there where it butts into the cross member. And like I showed you before, that piece of channel is going to come across at the end of the frame rails, and then it'll be notched for this receiver. You'll see all that goes together as soon as I start filming again here in the next few days. I got to go into work tomorrow. I'm actually going to a job interview tomorrow too for a different job. I like the job I'm at, but it's kind of tapering down, so I might be getting a different job for more hours so I can afford to finish the van. Hoo-ho, guys. A little preview, but just to give you an idea what the look is going to be.